What? Good morning, everybody. Great morning, everybody. Sorry about that sound quality this morning. I don't know what's going on with the app. It really doesn't matter as far as what we're going to do to here today. And that's what I'm looking forward. What an exciting morning over here. Yeah, yep, the music's not on. Could you hear the mic though, right? Mic test 1 2 1 2. Awesome. We're all on the same page. We're ready to go. Yep. For whatever reason, the streaming app this morning, Ecom Live, that I've been using for quite a while, they have a different type of update. I can't get both the microphone and the sound from the system itself playing. Whatever, we got to keep going. That's not a big deal. What's a big deal is what we're about to do over here. Nevertheless, I had to have the music going on my end. I gotta have the music playing. I have to see all of you saying good morning, good afternoon, what's going on, everyone, checking in as we get going here, finding out. And it's a beautiful morning, right? Seeing Bitcoin touching $50,000. I think all of us are watching this pattern that we're in, though, right? This channel over here. So as you're coming up into that $50,000 level, it's nice. We have some excitement. There's no question about it. People are excited. I checked in on Twitter briefly, and I see a lot of $50,000 posts. I saw it last night from like CZ and from Anthony Papalano. Everyone seems to be very excited across my feed. And I says, listen, I know we're not supposed to be in awe until much later, but if you sit back and you think about it, it's a little bit euphoric for a lot of people, a feeling of great happiness, no question about it. And is it the time to really stick it to Peter though, right? You know what? At least gold will eventually hit 5,000. Bitcoin will never hit $50,000. Right, Peter. Is it the time to really? Not really. You know, we have a mission to accomplish. $50,000 is just definitely another, another notch along the way. But it's, we have to break out of this consolidation pattern to really get going over here. And if we break out to the upside, and if Bitcoin starts breaking out, then I'll be a little more euphoric myself. But nevertheless, happy to be here with you as we all see Bitcoin print 50,000. That's something that we were looking at, right, from much lower levels. So what happens right now? What do we think about Bitcoin $50,000, right? Is that cheap Bitcoin? Have I missed the trade on Bitcoin? And, is Ethereum and Bitcoin only for rich people? And should I buy altcoins where I could get 100x? Well, good luck getting 100x on any altcoin. You're probably going to lose all your money in the process of trying to do that. If you're asking if Bitcoin is cheap or if you're thinking it's too expensive, I would like you to just reframe that to yourself and understand that it is still cheap. What do I mean by that? Well, do you think in the next several months we could have a 6x on this? That's pretty significant. A 6x move in that type of time frame, right? Sure, you could get Cardano just had an 8x in it, right? Cardano just had an 8x in just a couple of months, and it's a beautiful move. And if you were tracking that, and if you were there and you positioned yourself into it, and you gone through the pain first, as Bitcoin was just pumping and pumping, doing its thing as it should, right? Then you're catching up here now. But Bitcoin is Bitcoin, right? And anyway, that's where we bring ourselves. When I say that, I want to talk about Bitcoin being cheap right now at $50,000. Right, this is huge news, Alan. This is. I'm sorry I don't have that up here. I should have it up here from this morning. I did bookmark it actually to share with you. Thanks, Michael Saylor, raising another $600 million. He thinks $50,000 Bitcoin's cheap. By the time he finished raising that money, Where will the price of Bitcoin be? Jade, we'll look at the dollar. We'll look at the equity markets. We'll look at gold and silver. None of those things are exciting, but we'll stay in the flow of them. But they'll get about as much attention as they deserve. We're gonna go through all of FX today, every single pair. It's Tuesday, making sure we see what's going on. If there's any opportunity out there at all. But I'm focusing over here. So you could check back in later if you want to see the goods. But that's what we got going over here. We're on day 279 here since the halving. If you want to follow this chart, it's on Halving Tracker on Twitter, right? 279 days after the halving. You could see that right now we continue to be on pace somewhere between the first and the second cycle. Very, very easy monetary conditions. And we're going to talk a lot about the different types of monetary the different types. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We're going to be talking about the most significant signal that we know of right now, the monetary policy, and how that's affecting different assets, and how that's going to continue to affect different assets until something breaks, right? How much time do we have before the Fed even begins to think about tapering? It's going to be quite a while, right? It's going to be quite a while. We have to make sure that you are positioned and able to ride the trend. If you didn't see oil rising with all commodities, you're just missing what's going on. If you're a dollar bull, oh yeah, well guess what? The dollar's up, 0.8% today. 0.8%, 0.08% today. Great. Dollar's sideways. If anyone's looking at the dollar and they're wondering what's going on with the dollar, first of all, you're not spending your time here, right? You're not spending your time here. Otherwise, you would not be asking that question. Because we look at that, and we've said the dollar is going sideways for a while. And there it is, consolidating sideways, right? Out of play, irrelevant. Same thing with over here with gold. Gold on the back foot today. Gold's exciting, right? Gold's exciting, right? And then what about silver? Silver getting rejected at the 27.64 resistance over here. Still looks uber healthy. Anything above 26 is very bullish on silver. Silver continues to make higher lows and higher highs in this consolidation period right now. It's not breaking out, right? But certain things are. And that's probably where you should draw your own attention to if it's not there, right? Is probably you should follow the flow, right? Pay a little bit more attention, listening and learning, and asking good questions when appropriate. That's how you do it, right? So either which way, we're looking at Bitcoin, $50,000. Where are we going to be, right, by the end of June? Bitcoin, $100,000. That's a price target I've thrown out there. What I believe is going to happen. Is that a little conservative, or is that right on time? We're soon going to find out. We're in an area right now where it looks like on the first and second cycle we're running upwards. I've been saying coming into the cycle, I think that we're going to have this bit of area where we're going to be rising $70,000, right? Before within the next 60 days. What is that, next 50 days now? It seems appropriate as Bitcoin is hitting $50,000. That's when I said that not we should be euphoric, but that we're going to have real FOMO from institutions begin. And here we are now. Now we've reached that milestone. And guess what? You have other corporations. That was a surprise. No, we were expecting the institutions, large funds to come in, right? Maybe even pensions, right? But corporate companies, what Michael Saylor did, absolutely groundbreaking. Elon Musk has followed with a $1.5 billion purchase of Bitcoin. Who's next? Because right now they're all looking at what's happening and they're seeing the price of Bitcoin rise. They have to start FOMOing within the next 60 days. Within the next 60 days, it takes about 6 weeks to follow Michael Saylor's playbook. Company's president at MicroStrategy's corporate conference. Within the next 6 weeks, will we see any type of announcements of other companies have putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet? We're going to find out right over here. We're not FOMOing, but now because we're positioned. We're positioned in. Now it's time for everyone else to begin FOMOing. How do you like them apples? Right? Yeah. You could go back, Cindy. You could go back on the stream on that, pull back that red dot and go look at silver. If you want to see that again or hear that again, we're going to take a look here at the equity markets. Ethereum. Sideways consolidating looks so beautiful. It looks so beautiful. right? Question, why do I say that? New all-time highs right here, consolidating, right? This thing is getting ready to go. This are we going to start seeing any type of are we seeing institutional money coming into Ethereum? Look at the purchases on Grayscale, right? Is Cardano good? By the way, just a heads up warning to everyone out there, Brandon, I hope that you are listening, and everyone else that listen. Usually when you have what's taking place on Cardano right now, you're seeing a pump, a run up as it's coming up into a mainnet launch. As that happens, that's normally when you see a lot of volatility. A lot of volatility. Usually the volatility is going upwards to the launch. And then after that, there's usually a lot of profit taking, especially in crypto. Watch out. Could that be an opportunity for those who would like to position themselves in the project going forward? Yes. Will it be trading down lower than it is today? Could it trade back down to 40 cents? These are the questions you have to be asking yourself. These are things you have to be worrying about. Just watch, go to EOS, watch what happened when they launched. That's one that sticks out in my mind. There was a huge run up of price up until the mainnet launch, and then boom. I've seen it happen so many times in 2017. It's just ingrained in my mind. Big, just cautious note over there. Yeah, you could trade the Chinese yuan onshore and offshore, Vincent, but the question is do you want to be trading the yuan? I think coming in the future, now that the yuan is going digital, it's going to be much easier for a lot of people across the world to speculate in the yuan and therefore hold the yuan, and you're going to see huge yuan adoption taking place. Living in Mexico, I know that regular people are like, when I talk about Bitcoin, they're like, what about the digital yuan? Like, where could I buy that? So, I mean, you could trade the offshore right now on Oanda. You could trade the offshore right now on Oanda, and there are many other options, but do you want to be investing in the Chinese yuan? If you're interested in the currency markets, you're interested in FX, there's some prevalent trends going on. Is one of them in the dollar downwards right now, consolidating sideways? Yeah. Is one of them against the yen? The most prevalent one is against the yen, the weakening yen, right? You're seeing that take place or depreciate most against commodity currencies, right? Is this, by the way, this is the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Is this trade done over here, you think? Do you think that, like, if we were to see any type of risk off in the markets, you would see this? And look over here. This is when we had huge risk off in the markets. You see this area over here? That's risk off in the markets. We were involved in this. Australian dollar, Japanese yen, New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. Some of the biggest trades made in 2020 came off of this. Jesse, big shout out to Jesse. It's been a while since I've seen you, my brother, but you were involved in those trades, and they were big ones. Probably the best trades of your life. Probably the best trades of your life. And I kept saying to everyone, you're no longer a swing trader, you're a position trader. You're a position trader. You have to hold these trades because something has changed. It's very rare you see markets crashing. When they're crashing, it's obvious, but you can no longer trade as you other do. Anyway, if that happens, when that happens next, we'll be there together. We will adapt to what's taking place, and then it will be instructive. Right now, it's instructive. This is when the Fed acted, right? Over here, what's the signal that we're looking at? We're looking at the enormous central bank intervention in the markets, the massive amount of QE purchases taking place monthly. The Federal Reserve alone expanding their balance sheet this year by $1.4 trillion. The ECB is only slightly lagging that. People calling that perhaps a central bank might fail this year. It might be the ECB, but right now we have massive amount of liquidity being pumped. And could you imagine if there's any talk about a central bank failing, how concerned the central banksters must be themselves? Either which way, are we talking about tapering? Are we looking at tapering? Jerome Powell, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, has been absolutely abundantly clear on a couple of things. First of all, it can't be the Fed alone. They need stimulus from the government, right? Government just stepped in with $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. Is it the last? How will that money be spent? Where will it be spent? We're going to find out those details. We're going to see what is next, right? The Green Energy Initiative is already underway. It's already underway. It's happening. These things are in motion, right? And we're looking at this reflation trade. Now, you have people who are like, whether it's Brent Johnson or Raoul Powell, and they're like, no, I think that's the wrong trade. I think everyone's on that trade, Really? Because I thought everyone was on the markets are going to, crash and be insolvent trade and yada, yada, yada. How much further does this have to go before it stops? Or are you thinking about an exit? Do you think about an exit before something changes fundamentally in the markets? What will that next fundamental change be? When will it be? I don't see any inkling of a change on the horizon at this moment. Could things go from bad to worse? Could we see, for example, what type of spending will we see from the government? Jerome Powell has been clear on two things. One is that we need more spending from the government, from the U.S. government. And the second was that they're going to continue to have a very easy monetary policy. They're not looking to take off the brakes. They're not looking to remove any of their QE purchases. The question is, 6 months from now, 7 months from now, right? So we have 6-7 months of status quo as is right now, unless something changes. Could the stock markets crash? And what happens if the stock markets crash? Why would the stock markets crash in this moment? I don't see any catalyst. One of those catalysts would be the Fed begins raising rates. Oh, okay. Now maybe we're headed towards a possibility where we're going to start seeing the stock market under pressure. Could the market force rates to rise? That's something we need to talk about. Right? It looks like we saw Stanley Druckenmiller talking about he's long year rates. I don't know how far out. I don't know if it was the 10-year or the 30-year. You can watch that Goldman Sachs interview with Stanley Druckenmiller. There's this. I want to go over with you, but not right now in this session. Maybe in an afternoon video today. I'm trying to pull it up over here. Oh, I don't see it on my tabs. Interesting. Interesting. Here we are, right over here. This, when I look at charts, right? When I look at charts and I see over here, this is the 10-year, and I see us taking out that resistance over here, right? And I see the signs of inflation rampant everywhere before the commodities started running. When the Fed acted, way before then, inflation was pretty apparent. If you did anything like shop, send your kids to school, pay for healthcare and or housing, you felt like wages were not increasing and definitely prices were. Now you're seeing big technical levels being taken out. This could be worrisome. We could start seeing the market forcing yields to rise. What will the Fed do? How far will the Fed allow it to get? Right? Or will the Fed's response have to be raise rates themselves? That would cause the end of the system. I don't really see that happening. Right? Right now, as you're seeing yields rise, though, are gold and silver attractive? I'm tracking silver technically, and if it continues this breakout, I'm going to be a part of it. Right? No question about it. If it falls back below 26, it's just completely unattractive again. Right? This was a big consolidation that took place on silver, that trend line that made it super attractive to me when it broke out, right? Came back in for the retest, made a higher high over here. That's attractive to me. I still want to be involved. Came in for another retest, held. That's bullish. It's all bullish. I want to be involved for sure. That's why I put out that special video at the moment to act. Do you see one important thing? Over here, we did that special video, being as clear as possible about it, right? Over here, right? Did I make a big deal when Bitcoin traded over here? Did I bring your attention to it and say this is your opportunity? Bitcoin under $30,000, right? 30% drawdown. We're always following the flow. When it counts, we're there. By the way, if you're listening this morning, thank you for being here. Smash that like button, 459 likes as we get going here this morning. Let's keep it going. Bobby, all those things are if they happen, great, and you're participating in them, that's fine. Follow what's happening on the charts. Bobby. And right now, you should be, everyone should be, if you're interested, long silver. That was the entry for sure. No question, still holding this. We need to clear here. If we clear here, we're taking a look at 30, and this trade's going to be sitting beautifully. If we come in, I would not even move my stop loss at this point, right? Stop loss still where original stop loss. Keep it going over here. Let's see what happens. But is it interesting? I was talking about something Really important as we're seeing the yields rise out there. If that is the start of a bigger trend, right? Whether it's even if it's a slow motion push trend that the markets are forcing rates up, gold and silver are going to continue to be unattractive relative to the dollar. How will they do? Oh, probably okay. They're not going to be mooning. So we'll keep watching that. We'll see what happens. Boom, 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 boom. Well, yeah. I mean, we've talked about why, right? Because PSLV has actual physical silver to back it up. SLV, we talked about yesterday, releasing in their new prospectus that they are not going to have the physical silver that they're supposed to have to back it up, and that their price of their ETF could therefore be reflected in that. You could start seeing silver going up, and you could start seeing perhaps SLV going down. Is that possible? We'll find out, right? We saw oil trade negative this last year in 2020. So Ethereum looking beautiful. We're seeing Bitcoin crosses under pressure and alts rising versus Bitcoin. DOT outperforming Bitcoin. I mean, you guys all know about that, but that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to get into the equity markets over here briefly, just to check in. I'm going to do that on the daily time frame, and then we're going to go take a look across the FX and see what's going on. Well, I didn't mention the most important thing, though. If you're in Bitcoin right now, if you're in Bitcoin, what's your risk over here, and when do you get worried, right? A breakdown outside of this lower support of this channel, that would be the first sign that we could see some real pressure on Bitcoin. And then you have this trend line over here that's not too far below it, coming in right now, still around 44,500. Right? That's higher than yesterday. Yesterday we thought we could take out that low if we came back down over here. That was trading around $43,000, right? That's your risk. Will that break? Will that hold? I would expect this trend line to hold even if we broke outside of this rising channel over here to the downside. I would expect this to hold, this trend line. If it didn't, well then we have to watch out for a 30% correction, right? So how far is that anyway? Just into the trend line from that all-time high. That's only a 10-11% drawdown on Bitcoin. Something we're going to expect even when it's going vertical up almost, right? Even a 15%, 30% drawdown, by the way. Where does that take us? I'm doing this for my own benefit. I need to know my levels at all time. 30% drawdown right now taking me back down towards 35,000. 35,000, 39% drawdown. 30,000 support doesn't look like we're ever going to see Bitcoin 30,000 ever again, right? There's only one time I ever said that on 10,000. Only one time I ever said that on 10,000, and it was the right time, right? There we go. So anyway, that's Bitcoin. Let's take a look over here at what's going on with the equity markets. And in this environment that we're talking about, the signal that we're focusing on are equities. Interesting, right? We're looking at stocks to continue to rise. If there's any type of correction in the stock market during this year, that will be an opportunity to get long on equities if you are interested. But if are equities interested in compared to what and why? Exiting Bitcoin, would you be interested in going into equities? Maybe pick up some really good tech companies. Maybe pick up some growth stocks if you think that we're going to be returning to growth maybe sometime in 2023, getting ahead of it. Questions you have to ask yourself. We did a video last week. This is, by the way, Tom put this together. This is absolute fire over here. This is every single training session we've done over here, our Thursday training sessions, like labeled. And he's gone ahead and he's by topics like placing your stop loss, psychology, risk management, position sizing, the best timeframes to trade, setting up your charts, trading tools before you begin trading, trade management, where to take profits, where to move your stops, choosing your setups, the strategy itself, buy and sell, entry criteria, then ranking them like primo content, like 2 and 3 extra credit, all the video clips broken down, rated. There's 1,600 or 1,500 clips, right? And you can see just in random sessions over here, going ahead, every question, going ahead and time stamping it, placing the question over here. These will be included on the website. I'll be working on that this week and making sure that you have that we all have a searchable database of all the training sessions. So if you want to focus on, for example, just setting up your charts, you know, each and every clip that you need to focus in on, do that along with the module, right? If you want to work on, you know, choosing your setups, you'll know which videos you need to focus on. It's absolutely, Tom, thank you for doing this. Tom did this for a couple of reasons. Number one, he heard me saying it over and over again, that would be just absolutely phenomenal resource for everyone. And then also because, thank you, Nate. That's beautiful to hear. I'll build off that in a minute. Look, and he also wanted to do it because he enjoys learning so much. He truly believes that what is happening, what's taking place in this moment here on this channel is extraordinary. And he's great, and he's grateful to be a part of it. He's like, is it a once in a lifetime thing? I think so. And we're a part of it, and it's amazing. And I thank you. So I'm really looking excited to building that out this week. Still need to do a couple of things with Brad to get that going, but that is going to be my focus. Oh, the reason I came over here, the last training session was exiting Bitcoin, right? We have, you know, pushing your winners and then Bitcoin lightly leveraged. 3 of the most important videos before these 3 sessions were even produced. I thought this was invaluable treasure. That's what I always refer to this as, invaluable treasure. These 3 sessions alone are absolutely, let's say, priceless, right? But exiting Bitcoin, right? We get into that. Not what I'm going to be doing, exiting the equities. I'm just trying to find out a time when you might be interested in equity markets right now. I don't think they're risky. There are times when I think that they're risky. I've let everyone know, right? And we've monitored those pullbacks as they then occurred. Right now we're seeing just a perfect shoot over here. If we break out to the upside, though, that's going to be a near-term blow-off top. That's when I'll be saying they're risky. That's when I'll be looking for the correction to occur. Or if we have a downside break, right? What type of downside break that would be technically worrying right now? There's not too much, you know, above 35.46 here. That is just, everything's looking beautiful, and that's a correction. So even if we were coming into that support, I mean, we would be leaning heavily. So let's see. Equities continue to remain uber bullish over there. Nate, it's very important over here. Forex, that's enormous, right? That's enormous. And you did that just really in a very controlled way. That's the important piece. A very risk adverse, right? A very controlled way. And now you're like putting together a count where you feel like probably you might be able to do something, right? And then this trade is just getting started though, Nate. Do we have another 5-6x in us? Are we going to trade at $300,000 on Bitcoin in this bull market over here? Where's my halving chart? Over here. If you look at the cycle, if you look at, let's see, where we are right now, $50,000, right? Day 280. If we just had the same, let's say, expected return as the last cycle, which we expect to have a higher return, right? We got clear about that early on. $160,000 was using a diminishing return than the previous cycle. Came out early when said that was wrong. Said that was wrong in what we're looking at. Let's see, right? If we just continue the same trajectory, that would be like $280,000 Bitcoin, right? I expect we're going to be trading higher. We'll be trading around, you can see the thumbnail of this video, 270,000, right? By September, right? Those are the things we're going to be watching. See if we're lower, higher, where we are, looking for an exit. But I expect the exit is going to be somewhere between that first peak and that second peak. Right? Is that going to be somewhere? Let's find out where it is. We don't know. We're going to time it our best. Could it be as high as $400,000? You know, I don't like to. If it happens, I assure you, we're gonna that I'll be that will be a huge bubble. I will be euphoric if that's happening. I myself will be euphoric, and you know, and I'll be like, Bitcoin is a massive bubble, and everyone else is going to be like, it's a super cycle. Look at the corporations. By the way, some beautiful stuff over here. This is not important. This is important, right? So there's this thread over here. Satoshi's over here, you know, tagged me over here. He's like, look, I can't make sense of what this is. Like, what's a risk-free trade? But you know, Preston in this video where he's talking about what he believes the biggest thing that's happening If I had audio on the system I played for you right now, he believes the biggest thing happening in Bitcoin right now is things that take place like on BlockFi, where you're able to lend out your Bitcoin and receive interest for it, right? On BlockFi, you could do two things. There's a description below. But you could do two things. You could take out a loan against your own Bitcoin, right? So let's say you had, $100,000 of Bitcoin and you wanted to take out a loan for maybe even as high as $50,000. You could do that. The lender feels very comfortable knowing that you're borrowing from them against your own Bitcoin, so they have the collateral if you don't pay to go ahead and get their money back. It could be called in instantly, right? If you go below your loan to value ratio, it could be called in 24 hours a day. It's like Preston's like, this is the new form of lending. But not only that, you yourself could store your Bitcoin there, right? Withdrawal, you need facial recognition, good security, strong security. Do you feel comfortable about holding your Bitcoin on a third party? That's a risk. That's a risk. And always be aware of all of your risks. There are some people who believe any Bitcoin you own, you should store offline and hold your own keys. There are other people who feel very comfortable, right, holding funds on Coinbase or Gemini or Binance or wherever. Spread it out, whatever. That's a whole different topic. The other thing that they do is if you hold your Bitcoin there, you collect interest on them. Preston's saying or believing, and this is going to lead to the Supercycle, this is going to lead to hyper Bitcoinization. He's saying that it's going to become the only thing that you're going to want to do is hold your Bitcoin and receive interest for it by lending it out, because it's a safe loan, it's collateralized, you call it in any time, and it's almost a free trade. It's quote unquote risk-free trade. There's always risk, right? There is risk, but Bitcoin loans collecting interest are well collateralized and can be called in instantly at a time. I noticed, and I didn't know this until this morning, right? If you look at the interest rates paid on BlockFi, last I knew they went down. If you were holding over a certain amount of Bitcoin, they went down. They've gone up. Even the tier 2, if you're holding over 2.5 Bitcoin, has gone up to 3% from, I believe, 2% when it went down to 2%. Now, you have over here also this one going up as well, tier 1. That was 5%, and now it's 6%. So I'm seeing these yields rise over here. Preston's saying he believes they're going to go up into double digits, maybe even by the top of this bull market cycle. Well, that's a game changer in many ways, for a lot of people. And not only that, why he thinks it could lead to hyper Bitcoinization, and we're going to talk about this on a corporate level in a second, is the fact that, it's basically taking Bitcoin offline. It's taking Bitcoin offline, and it's already scarce. We're seeing the amount of Bitcoin leaving exchanges. I think 1,500 Bitcoin left Coinbase in the last 24 hours. Right? Are those institutional buyers, you think? Right? What type of announcements are we soon going to see? Either way, all interesting stuff. I wish I could play the audio for you. It's right over here. You could watch it. It's Tesla's 1.5 Bitcoin buy with American HODL and Preston Fish. It's on What Bitcoin Did's podcast, right? So very interesting, and a lot of interesting stuff over there. A lot of interesting stuff said over there. So equities, how that relates to equities. So equities. So Gina, what's going to happen in the bear market? In the coming bear market, right? Setting up for it, for $400,000 Bitcoin, Jordan will be euphoric, as with everyone. Everyone's going to be talking about hyper Bitcoinization, right? The Supercycle, just a different word. Is it going to happen? Is this time it's different because corporations over here? Are people at the top of the cycle going to be borrowing against their Bitcoin on BlockFi for loans with a 50%? So what happens when Bitcoin drops 50%? Because Bitcoin could drop. Hold on one second. Let me pause 1 second. Anytime a comment starts out with like some type of information as a question, it's always funny. But your target for Bitcoin is 160K for September. Stefan, maybe you just joined us? If you did, really, I'm glad that you're here. I just said no. What are you talking about? Where did you get that information from? And Watch this podcast, watch any of the podcasts, see what's going on. In this point, I was like, yeah, a year and a half early, I did the math and I put it for, in November of 2019, did the math and put $160,000 Bitcoin at the top of the cycle. I just said that's wrong. I said it was wrong. I don't know, early December or before that. It's clearly wrong. I came out and I was like, for days in a row, you know what? I'm wrong. I don't really care. I just want to be on the right side of the trade. If this thing goes wherever it goes, I'm going to be getting out at the top. I know that, right? I've called and been on every move of Bitcoin and will continue to do so. I'm hyper aware. That's why I spend the time doing this over here. But in this video, the thumbnail is 270,000 by September, right? And is that something that I believe we're going to peak out at? I have no idea where we peak out at, right? Is it $250,000? Is it $400,000? I don't know. I'm going to find out, and I'm going to be there to take that exit. So that's all. But I was talking about something important before I got sidetracked. I apologize for that. Oh, this is important over here. What happens at the top over here? $400,000 Bitcoin. What happens if people are taking out massive amount of loans against their Bitcoin to get that fiat? But they don't know how to calculate it. They're not familiar with the 4-year cycle. They don't believe that we're going to have a bear market, or if we have a bear market, they believe it's only going to be maybe a 60% drawdown. And this is what's going to happen. You ready? Watch this. By the way, if you enjoy what I'm about to share, smash the like button. If you don't enjoy it now, but as it occurs, 22 months from now, or whenever it occurs, then at that point, smash that like button. But what's going to happen is you're going to see Bitcoin come off its high about 60%, and it's going to be consolidating for many months. Similar to this over here in this wedge, similar to what happened over here, right? Bitcoin. And then people are going to be like, it's the bottom, it's down 60%. See, I told you in this new super cycle, it's good. And then there's going to be a capitulation event. And Bitcoin is going to dump, and it's going to go down 85%. It's going to take everyone out, and then we're going to be setting up towards our cycle low over here, 15 months to the next halving. We're going to be there. But people are going to get burned that have out these collateralized loans as Bitcoin comes up 50%. Don't take out a loan if you don't have collateral set aside to pay off that loan, first of all. Because if Bitcoin comes off 50% and you can't put up more collateral, you're going to lose your collateral. It's very, 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 very dangerous unless you can pay back the money, right? Unless you can pay back the money that you borrowed. I think that we're going to see, as this occurs, because it's going to occur, it's going to affect the bear market in a different light that we haven't seen before. And all we could say, or just like be aware of it today. I have no idea how it's going to unfold, right? I never thought we would see interest rates at double digits this cycle. Preston said it. I was like, what? And I'm looking at them rising right now. That's interesting. I thought that stable coins would go down in price, right? Maybe during the bear market, they're like at 6 to 8%. That would be great, but are they going to go up as well? Why is Tether rising in yield? That's a warning sign right there. If I think that's a warning sign. To me, it's a warning sign. Anyway, what else? What else? Bear market. What about corporations? Corporations, I believe, will be able to a MicroStrategy. They'll be able to go through the 4-year cycle just simply holding. No question about it. But what about institutions? They can't take that type of drawdown, right? Are we going to see institutions blowing up? I don't know. They're going to lose their Bitcoin. There are no bailouts with Bitcoin. If you make a mistake, if you're an institution and you make the wrong trade, you lose your Bitcoin, right? So it's going to be interesting. And are the institutions going to put a cap in the price of Bitcoin during this bull market phase, or are they actually going to cause a massive spike down? I don't know. No one knows. But what I do know is that there is, because of this coded monetary system, there is this 4-year cycle, and to date, this 4-year cycle is held. And I'm going to follow it until I see signs, which is why I do what I do every day and following the markets as closely as I do, right? First sign something's different for me at this point in time, it would be I don't believe we're going to see hyper Bitcoinization this cycle. If it happens, right? If I saw that Bitcoin was trading above $300,000 in let's say I did it right over here in the video. Let me see what I wrote. That's Preston. Right? If I see that Bitcoin is upwards of $400,000 in September, I'll reconsider whether or not we're having a super cycle. If I saw a price trading higher than it should be, I would say, okay, maybe something's different. I would reconsider. I'm 97% confident, right? Which is more than my 5 to 7% allocation at the peak. At the peak of the Bitcoin bull market, I will keep 5 to 7% of my Bitcoin. That could change 7 months from now, right? And I think that's generous because I think that I'm 97% confident we're going to see the bear market cycle, that it's going to be a full bear market cycle. None of this 60% drawdown thing, 80, 85%. And that either way, I'm going to find the low 15 months thereabouts into the next halving and then get ready to run the next cycle. What type of price targets we're looking at in the next cycle, I don't know. I don't know. Rob, appreciate that, brother, because I don't know. I'm just talking about what's interesting for me, what I need to do to continue to make the investments and the trades that I need to make. And is 250 a super cycle? No. A super cycle, Thomas, is when Bitcoin basically reaches hyper Bitcoinization, when all of a sudden everything starts being priced in Bitcoin. And you're not going to see, like, when Bitcoin's trading at upwards of $1 million, at that point, you're no longer going to see these large swings in the price of Bitcoin to the upside and downside. Where Bitcoin ultimately ends up, I have no idea. I'm focused again. I'm focused right here. Right here, this is where I'm focused. This is why I'm always in the flow, more accurate than anyone I know on Bitcoin, is because I'm focused on what's happening now. It's fun to have these different types of thoughts experiments and how they follow in. For me, the bigger signal is what's going on with the central banking system. Easy monetary conditions, and you could see that it's showing in the price of Bitcoin over here, as we are definitely outperforming the pace of the last cycle. The last cycle would have picked out at $200 and around $80,000, right? I think we're going higher. Where that will be, we'll find out. Thank you, Kenneth. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. And it's just, Heath is the ultimate wealth. That's a beautiful comment. Heath on Trade Talk. That's a beautiful, beautiful comment right there, Jordan. That's beautiful. Yeah, copper's a good trade. Commodities are a good trade. A lot of guys that are focused in on commodities, a lot of nickel. I'm not talking about the interview I showed with you the other day on Real Vision. No, it was on Cambridge Institute, and it was the guy who was a nickel and a copper trader, right? And he missed Bitcoin. He missed it. He's like, yeah, I traded in the Bitcoin. I made some trades on Bitcoin. If you understand Bitcoin, then you're all into Bitcoin at this point in the cycle. There's no question about that. Otherwise, you don't understand it. And if you're interested in these other commodities, oil or anything else, we'll talk about that in a second. Garcia. We'll talk about it right now. Do I think that QE will affect the bottom of the cycle? That if they start tightening at the bottom of the cycle, what policy is going to look like? It's hard to tell several months out. Nevertheless, for the several months out, I could say there's no chance that the Fed is going to be tightening. The only risk right now is that there's more spending than we foresee. That's the risk right now. Right now, we're looking at massive amount of inflation, real inflation. People are seeing it everywhere. And if they start doing more stimulus, more type of even UBI, more type of direct stimulus payouts in this next 12 months, or if they start like spending more on green energy initiatives or whatever, at that point, it could be dangerous. And then we could really start seeing inflation pick up. We'll get into it as we need to get into it. If we start seeing that happening, is there any chance of them pulling back in the next year? Not even a question. During the bear market, what the monetary policy is, we'll figure that all out. It's still gonna. What I'm looking at as signal is somewhere around I have no idea, 2023, the digital dollar being introduced, right? It looks like Bitcoin has the all clear. It looks like Bitcoin has the all clear. How central bank digital card is that going to be super bullish for Bitcoin in itself as well, as more and more people are just bought into the adoption of digital currencies? If all currencies are digital, at that point, don't you just then fully accept Bitcoin and even learn more about what it is? Listen, I don't know. Those are things we'll figure out as we get into them. Yeah. So Bitcoin, is it time to buy Bitcoin right now? That's the question. Yeah, listen, Bitcoin priced in dollars. If we see massive inflation, there'll be massively high prices. When I talk about $1 million and above, who knows what that could look like, and it depends on a lot. Just don't be worried about that. Be worried about how many Bitcoin you own, right? How much Bitcoin you own. Do you own 0.2 Bitcoin? I mean, you're on your way, right? What's your goal? I have no idea. It doesn't, but think in terms of how much Bitcoin you own rather than what that price in fiat is going to be, which is going to be significantly higher, right? If the dollar inflates. All right, let's take a look. Is that up again? This is unbelievable. This is not even real. Silvergate is definitely like it's the one public market altcoin. There's no question about it, right? You guys definitely brought Silvergate to my attention. Listen, man, this is like Square when back in early 2020 when I was all over Square. It was all over my radar. I didn't take a position during the pandemic. That was the time. That's one. Definitely missed that. I seen Silvergate happening. Similar thing. This is the bank, right, of BlockFi, the bank, right? I was wondering why Silvergate seemed so familiar, right? How many wires made the Silvergate, as well as other people. And it's not that. It's Kraken, and I feel like it's worthy, I feel like it's worthy. So that's what I mean. That's how you got to talk. That's amazing. That's amazing right there. That's awesome. That's a 50x, right? That's not a 50x. That's a 25x. That's a 25x going. That's amazing, my brother. That's amazing, right? And it's just a question of like 0.5 Bitcoin, right? Could get up next to 0.55 Bitcoin, right? It's all about increasing the Bitcoin, right? Don't think about terms of dollars. That's going up, and when the way that we accumulate more Bitcoin, by the way, is playing that cycle. That's the way that you accumulate from here to here. This 12 months, a massive amount of money can be made positioning correctly, and then getting into that cycle to do it all again. I have no idea the prices that we're going to be talking about in the next cycle, but if we're talking about $250,000 Bitcoin, $400,000 Bitcoin now, 400,000. I think that's a little generous. We'll see. We'll see. $300,000 Bitcoin. Those are dizzying. What will the next cycle be? I don't know. We'll figure it all out. Let's take a look. So I was off on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and I was looking at this at the 3-day as I got into monetary policy and what I believe that's going to look like going forward, right? So, is there any signs that you should not be continuing to push this trade here after this multi-year trend line break, this beautiful price action, and this just basically a barometer that we're seeing right now for the current monetary policy? Looks good. Australian dollar, US dollar, by the way, could that be trading? Is that headed towards trading back? I remember back in 2008. What was it, 2010? Hold on one second. 2008. Did we briefly touch $1 in 2008? I don't remember if it was 2008 or it was 2010. More likely it was 2010 when I was tracking this. I don't remember what it was trading at. Somewhere around 80 cents. Knew how high this thing was going. I feel like a similar situation is developing right now, right? I don't think we're in a bubble. I think we're going to eventually be in a massive bubble. We were in a massive bubble. That bubble popped, right? The pin and it smashed. But it's not like it caught us off guard. We were actually all over that. All over that. Only one other place I know that was macrovoices.com, Macrovoices podcast on YouTube or wherever. The only other person or place that I know that was all over that as that was unfolding, right? So anyway, let me thank you for adding so much. Eric, thank you for adding so much. Each and every one of you, each and every day. Thank you so much for making this so special. Appreciate that. So we got 2K watching. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad the Google algorithm has brought you here. I'm so happy for that. And I look forward to sharing more with you. Yeah, this is so right, Jordan. Big shout out. To Heath, so active each and every day on the Discord on CTM, right? Brandon, amazing content along with Heath. I mean, as these guys got started launching their channels, I made it a point to really focus your attention on there. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see 2 featured channels. It's only those 2 guys because they've worked with me, right? They're part of CTM, right? They see the markets, and then they build on it to give it their own the way that they see things, the way that they're able to approach the market and profit from it. The amount about Stefano, you're just a saint. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that all you give. And so many. Tom going ahead on his own time and just putting this all together. Brad building the website for us. It's all amazing. You're all amazing. Jordan for building other people up. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for taking the time to acknowledge the value each and every day that everyone does helps. Yeah, I don't know, Danny. It's a good question. Danny's, I can't answer that. I've seen a lot of housing channels, real estate channels, like the Graham Stephan show. I don't know if you ever seen Graham Stephan, and this guy's a real estate broker, and now they're talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, right? And housing market, what happens when, a lot of people are in a lot of trouble, including landlords who are not collecting rent. A lot of people can't pay their rent. People are not returning to work. Jobs are not being created. The Fed is saying they're not going to tighten policy until a certain amount of jobs are created. The odds of that happening are 0. By the way, technology is uber deflationary, and technology will continue to take jobs away at a massive speed, right? As we enter this COVID pushing everything up, 10 years or quicker. Everyone now working from home. It's a new thing. What's going to happen to the housing market? I don't know. I don't know if the government's going to further step in, right? If the government steps in, there's going to be a lot more debt, right? We're going to see, or are we going to see people suffer more than they are right now? Or people going to be, I don't know. 2021 could be very interesting for the housing market. The housing market seems like it's extremely overpriced in most areas except for, and I think the housing market's coming back on the high end in New York, probably also in LA and San Francisco, where we'll be starting to, right? But you have this massive amount of money sloshing around. It's got to go somewhere. It's going to go even into oil. Even with the green energy push, it's going into oil. So of course it's going to go into real estate, but people can't afford housing. What happens? What breaks? I don't know, or how to time that. I don't know how to time that. And it doesn't feel anything to me like, by the way, without knowing what I was doing, I was all over the housing peak back as early as 2005. People telling me I own real estate. Anyway, I didn't really understand the markets even remotely close to the way I do now. That was kind of like luck, but either way, I was in the right place at the right time. I don't see it right now, and that asset bubble looks like it's going to continue to blow up. Yeah. So what else? If I thought I could make more money in altcoins, Hans, it's a great question because we started this video off with Bitcoin's 50,000. So let's get the S&P off the chart. Let's just put up a chart of Bitcoin really quick as we have a discussion that I think is really important over here from Hans. And so Hans, the question is, right? Bitcoin's 50,000, Ethereum. Wow, Ethereum's 1,800. It's all too expensive. I need to find an altcoin that's going to pump, right? I mean, does Ethereum have a 5, 6, 7x in it here? And when I say that, is that like the expected minimum? And if you understood that, right, and then you understood how to trade with leverage, right, and there's a video over here that we did, Bitcoin lightly leverage, masterful, so helpful for you have to understand what you're doing, right? So if you're looking at a 5x, 6x, 7x minimum on Ethereum, nothing's risk free, nothing's guaranteed, right? And that's lightly leveraged. What altcoin are you looking at and why? That's my only question. If you're looking at, if you wanna, like, if you're a techie and you're interested in the tech and you want to be involved in what's going on in Ethereum, in Cardano, in the DeFi space, do you understand how to use Uniswap and all this? And that's great and that's fun and that should be like a hobby and you should be doing your research and you should be taking positions in what you know and understand, right? But speculative positions, right? Could you do those lightly leveraged if you know what you're doing and how to do that? So you're using even less money, for that speculating. Yes, you can. You have to know what you're doing though. But if you understand what's going on with Bitcoin, right, and you could buy a fraction of the Bitcoin, right? You could buy $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, because when we talk about, or Hans, when it was just talked about earlier, started with $1,000, now have half a Bitcoin, right? That's, I don't know when he joined the channel, when he started, but he started with $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, now has a half a Bitcoin, right? That's a 25x within the year, right? But that's just getting started. By the end of the year, if Bitcoin's looking at another 5, you're talking about dizzying numbers. So you got to be, it's about Bitcoin. It really is. For me, that's the only trade that matters. I think you could accomplish on Bitcoin the same thing you could accomplish anywhere else. But I do believe that really the space is absolutely fascinating. There's so much to learn. And if you're the type of person who wants to even, build their own rig for whatever, or I guess the times of mining Ethereum are over. Ethereum obviously more profitable to mine than Bitcoin since I've known, I never was able to mine Bitcoin off a GPU. So, and I never had any type of ant miner. So, because it's more profitable simply buy Bitcoin than invest in the mining equipment and everything. Yeah, you could get, clean Bitcoin, privacy Bitcoin, clean Bitcoin, never been used by mining Bitcoin. And maybe you want to have like a desktop miner where you're paying for the electricity, maybe even paying a premium to get that Bitcoin. That's fine. If you're into that type of stuff, right? And anyway, there we go. I hope that answers your question, Hans. It's a safer, Bitcoin is in my opinion, I'm very risk adverse. I take on more risk than any of you, but I'm super risk adverse, right? And Bitcoin is the safest trade in my opinion, understanding the risks. That's awesome, Eli. My hope is, to be able to leave my kids something where they could know and understand money. That really. And Eli, I'm interested to know what other resources you're following, what you're doing, how you're learning. That's amazing that you're here. That's amazing that you have the mental awareness. I don't know what type of intelligence it is, but to be able to be investing your time here, that it's so low time preference that it's ridiculous. And I admire that so much because very few younger people have that. So you're going to make a huge difference here. I know that. So what else are we looking at? Cheap money. That's right. This is Ecamm Live. So one thing about alts, as I wanted to continue on Hans's question though, one thing that's fascinating to me on alts, that is fascinating, that I think offers the most opportunity, because I'm all about not getting caught up in something but being about where the opportunity is. And this section over here, I've showed all of you this. This is Ethereum Bitcoin, but this is during the cycle peak of Bitcoin in December of 2017. This is a 30-day window. In this 30-day window, alts just simply obliterated Bitcoin. It happened across the board, right? So is this something over here as we get towards the top of this cycle peak that people might want to get out of their Bitcoin trade in for a small, you know, I don't know what type of trade a small window, a 30-day window trade or less, right? 28, 38 trade window over here, and look for, you know, a massive opportunity. You know, that's one thing to think about, you know. And also do note that this was occurring also for the last few months going into that last month peak where altcoins were getting obliterated by Bitcoin. So if I'm seeing that occurring again as we come into September, if I'm seeing that Bitcoin has been running all summer against altcoins and the pain is real out there, all those that were invested in altcoins trying to get more Bitcoin are losing their Bitcoin, I might say, all right, this is a place that I want to set up to attack. I'll then be looking on how I would position into that trade. And I would be doing it, you know, with CTM for sure. But that's fascinating for me. That's fascinating to me. Riot, I've seen it come up a couple of times. I don't really like to look at things like that. I kind of focus on what I think I need to focus in on. So, wow, that looks like Silvergate in many, many ways. That looks like Silvergate, you know? So I assume a lot of you are holding this in your 401ks. You guys know more than I know about it. You know, it's going parabolic. I don't know. Yeah, and that's our job, just to educate people about money. You know, educate people about Bitcoin, about what it takes to build a future. So I'm trying to see what else we're looking at. Yeah, Hans, and it's funny because there are people that have been watching for a long time now, many since March and April, and when this channel started to grow, many since we first started. There used to be 30 people here for months every day doing the exact same thing we do now, and it's grown and it's become a whole new experience. And each day, more and more people are able to kind of join us. The people that are able to spend the time and invest the time in themselves, it pays off in an enormous real way. I've never seen anything else like it in a different environment. It's beautiful. Yeah. I don't know. You know, if, by the way, you know, GBTC in your 401k, the way that I'm doing it is I'm riding out the whole cycle, not trading at all, riding out the whole cycle. As I'm exiting Bitcoin, please someone even remind me. GBTC, it's time to exit, you know. But, you know, I will exit for the bear market. I will position accordingly for the bear market, and then I will accumulate again at the time to accumulate, to do this all again and run the cycle. There's a cycle in Bitcoin. It's a 4-year cycle. It's caused by the halving of the miner's reward. Every 10 minutes, you know, what they get, the reward in Bitcoin they get for confirming the Bitcoin, the most amount of hash power in the world behind the Bitcoin network. You know, the immense value behind the world's largest decentralized network, the most computing power. It's absolutely enormous. And there we are. There we are. So we almost made it, by the way. We almost made it. Celsius, so whether there are many other lending platforms, and I assume that there are going to be many other, including, and I've looked at it before, but I don't want to lose my bookmark. So including HODL. This one is decentralized. It's very small. Adam Back tweeted about this. Months ago. That's what brought my attention to it. I started following it. The market right now is really too small, but it won't be. And this, you hold your own keys. You hold your own keys why you're lending out Bitcoin. It's decentralized, and this is why I say Bitcoin is the largest decentralized blockchain, the only decentralized cryptocurrency. There's talk of Cardano becoming decentralized soon on the launch of their mainnet. I don't know. You guys were doing a good job explaining to me. There's a comment I highlighted. I'll share it with you tomorrow morning, giving a rundown of what that looks like. I don't know anything about it. You know, I don't know. I just don't know about it. But I do know about Bitcoin. Right. So either which way, I forgot where that was taking me. Oh, other lending platforms, hodl. Yeah, and also Celsius is another one, and I'm sure there are going to be many others, and I'm sure people are going to want to spread their risk out instead of holding all their funds, with BlockFi, maybe with Celsius also, maybe eventually not using any other third party, but holding your own keys and doing it with hodl. That seems like something. We'll see what happens. There's a lot happening. Conquer trading stupid. I mean, that's a weird word to use. You're calling me stupid, son? to not buy even Cardano at this price, giving there as much as one. Let's see what happens. I don't know. It's all speculative. Is it stupid? Is it stupid? I don't know. I got 5 kids, one on the way. I don't have the liberty to make stupid mistakes. Yeah, let's look at some Forex pairs, Danny. Let's look across the board. I want to put in a good session. So when I talk about cross pairs, by the way, what I'm referring to is any other pair that is not the Japanese yen or the US dollar. So when you see like 2 pairs that does not include the US dollar or Japanese yen, I call that a cross pair. My terminology could very well be very off, as I'm self-taught. I kind of just have done things my own way. And, I guess it shows. I don't know though, but I can see over here, this is consolidating. It's not interesting right now. So I'm going to look for things that are interesting. Yeah. Proof of stake, proof of work, big debate. I mean, I'm a proof of work kind of guy. You all know that, right? I don't know how to trade. Remy, you could trade options on debit, right? But man, I've never traded an option in my life, by the way. Unless you're an expert and know exactly what you're doing, do not trade options or you're going to lose your money. If you want to take the time to learn about options and then apply the same price action principles that I teach in my course, you'll do fantastic. But you have to understand. And in Bitcoin, you can check out debit. I'm sure there are tutorials. I don't do it. Shout out to all the dads out there, right? Let's say, all right, Australian dollar, Swiss franc, nothing. Australian dollar, Japanese yen, okay, this continues to be interesting, right? I'm seeing the breakout above that last resistance, looking for it to be confirmed into support. That could come down to the 8-hour. I could see it starting to pull back. This is already giving me possible setup criteria. Has the Japanese yen run too far? Or is it just getting started? Questions we're going to look at right now. Let's see if Japanese yen is coming into resistance on other pairs, right? And on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, it looks like we just broke above the resistance I was tracking. Is that the best resistance level that I had over there? I'm going to bring this down a little bit to where the market just came into that resistance and broke above it. Right over there. It's pretty good. It's very clear for me. Up right there. Right? That's where I'm looking. So I'm waiting right now, and I'm waiting for some type of pullback. Is that enough of a pullback for me be looking to take a resumption out over here? I think price would be going a little bit vertical. I'm not really interested. I'd rather wait for a pullback closer down towards 81.13. Could that take possibly a week or so? Maybe. Right? What? Listen to John Hoskins? For what? Wait, what? John? John, we might have different goals. I got enormous goals. I really do, right? I've had many financial goals. Now my goals are, there's a lot of people who are suffering from these central banksters over here. for their monetary policies, for the inequality they have created. There are a lot of people out of work. There are a lot of people really who can't put food on their table, who can't feed their kids, right? I have a lot of goals, a lot of things I need to accomplish here in order to be able to help as many people across the world live better lives, right? That's the goal from the last sentence of my about section of this YouTube channel since day one, right? Am I going to do that by investing in Cardano right now? Maybe. Do I? What? No. I have things that I really need to accomplish. If you know of a more important trade than Bitcoin, then surround yourself by those people, right? And stick with them, right? I'm focused on the markets, right? And at this particular time in the market, there's nothing more important than the Bitcoin trade right now, right? This is why Elon, the world's richest man, right, just put $1.5 billion of their reserves into Bitcoin for Tesla, right? Tesla. What is the market cap of Tesla? It's enormous, right? What other companies are going to be doing that now? I don't know. Aren't you going to be taking positions in Cardano? I don't know. That seems highly speculative to me, right? And Charles Hoskin, wait, it's not decentralized because there's a person that actually, the founder, right? That right there is probably one of the biggest holes in the project right there. Not to cut down a project that you're interested in, right? I think it's awesome if you're interested in. I'm here to speculate in the markets. So I don't really care about the project so much as what's happening on price and where I think it's going next. Watch out as the mainnet is launched. You might see a lot of volatility. Be careful, right? But Satoshi, no one knows who Satoshi is, right? At all. You can't bring Satoshi in. Charles Hopkins, that sounds like a security flaw right there. I'd be very careful what you're investing in. I would at least understand and have thought through the risks. I would at least and proof of stake, right? Do you believe that's better than proof of work, and why? You have to understand what you're investing in. But listen, yeah, obviously not stupid. Obviously not stupid, right? Kind of weird you would use anyway. Wow. That was the one and only of the year. Sorry to get sidetracked over that. But it is important for other people to hear and understand because it makes them think. It helps them to understand. A lot of people during alt season, they get really drawn in, right? Is as we come in, by the way, let's look over here at Cardano Bitcoin. Let's look at the past cycle where we were right now. Let me come on the daily chart. Is there another chart? What feed is this? Let's try. What exchange might have had them? Bitfinex? Bittrex? Let's check it out. Let's see how far they go back. Same place. Same place. So I'm trying to look coming into the peak of the market over here, right? So it looked like it was just sideways, huh? Is that just sideways coming in to those the couple of months, the 2-3 months before because it was just launched over here? How long has Bitcoin been around? Right? Can anything that's done on Cardano eventually be built on top of a layer on Bitcoin? Right? Think about it. But either which way, if you're interested in Cardano, should you be setting up the trade this summer, right? Coming into September, is that going to be the time? And any other altcoin? By the way, I don't know. I got very sidetracked over there. I got you could look at Brandon's Crypto Trades and Tech. There was a Cardano video that I watched last week. I was there for the live stream. Absolutely amazing. Educate yourself. Understand what's going on. But understand that there's always the hype going into the launch of a mainnet. That's what's occurring right now. Cardano was lagging prior to the new year, and now is starting to go ahead on that hype launch news. Go ahead, and it's doing what it's doing. Anyway, I got 1,000 likes. Thank you for being here. 1,000 likes. There was something that I wanted. FX. Let me come back to FX over there. Australian dollar, Japanese yen. Most streamers, a lot of people are new, and I have a lot of actually understanding and tolerance and compassion for that. right? Just let's be like on the up and up, right? When this channel started back in November, October 2019, I started the Bitcoin playlist, getting everyone's awareness and attracted to what was happening, the most important trade and why. If you would have been invested in any other, anyway, here we are. Here we are. Thank you, Stefano. That it's also could be found at any time off the main page of my YouTube channel, Brandon's Crypto Trades and Tech. Australian dollar, Japanese yen. I like it. It's got to come back at this point. I'm not going to chase after it. I don't think that's enough of a pullback, even if it starts going vertical towards 83, that I want to be involved in that type of trade. So that's, we were tracking that down over here, not looking to track that up here. Going to fall back now. All right. Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. We're seeing some nice moves over here, whereas first the Australian dollar was appreciating, then a clear trend with the New Zealand dollar, back and forth, and now it seems to be coming down to some type of like peak, right? Let's see if we could draw in any type of helpful broad strokes. Is it too soon? I don't know that it is or it isn't, right? But in doing that, I do see that if we get above this resistance over here, that horizontal resistance over here, it would become more interesting to be looking at a further continuation of the Australian dollar. But right now, nothing of interest, right? I'm interested in seeing, as we were looking at the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, blowing past that broken resistance, looking to confirm that into support with no resistance above for quite a while, what that looks on other Japanese yen pairs. Right? So see the Japanese yen is coming into a bit of resistance over here on the Canadian dollar, right? So of the two, definitely the Australian dollar looks healthier right now. This looks like it's in very much no man's land. What about the Euro Japanese yen? Also into resistance. We looked at that kind of like megaphone, that trend line resistance it was coming into. Right? So I think Danny was saying he believes that's into resistance on the pound Japanese yen. I think that's what Danny was saying when he felt like the Japanese yen was coming into resistance across the board. Why I don't see it on the Australian dollar Japanese yen, I do see it on the Canadian dollar, I do see it on the euro, and I do see it on the pound versus the Japanese yen. What about the New Zealand dollar Japanese yen? Also into resistance, right? So there you go. So even though, and notice, yeah, I was like, that looks attractive, and it's not coming into resistance, but at the same time, it needs to pull back. This would probably, after, if we did see a pullback right now, the candidate I would be most attracted to. And notice everything else is into a strong level of resistance, why this is just cleared above resistance. So it seems to be outperforming everything else on a relative basis. Pound Japanese yen is definitely still of interest to me, and getting above this 147.15, right? That's really going to open up the next level. There's always work to do, and there's a lot of supply in this whole area. So it's not like it's going to keep going straight up, in my opinion. The trade might even open up a lot nicer, cleaner, above 149.74 into, again, ultimately targeting. Not ultimately, maybe we go higher. Maybe we break outside that trend line. Maybe we break outside this trend line, taking us back from the 2008 high, right? Touched again over here in 2015. What I'm targeting here in 2021, right? That's just the next. We'll watch what happens as we come into it. It's a profit-taking event if it does, right? But a breakout above, well, then we got to, we got to trade what's happening and as it's happening. So what else? So that's the Japanese yen. I see it's time to back off a little bit. I saw the dollar destroying the peso this morning, right? I didn't know what that was all about, and I still don't. But the stock market's off. Stock markets are unchanged. They're off on the day. So I don't know what that's about, but that's something to pay attention to. So and also notice, by the way, that you have that like broke below that resistance, came above it, and now have flipped it and turning that to support. Are we seeing a trend change taking place over here? And what does that mean? Even if the dollar continues versus other major currencies to go sideways and or depreciate, is it possible that we're going to see the dollar appreciate versus the peso? Why being weaker versus other things? Or I have no idea what's going on, but that's something to pay attention to, and I'll keep watching it just until I figure out what is going on, right? That's a piece of the puzzle. What about US dollar, Canadian dollar? I mean, that's more tracking the DXY, the dollar that we looked at, which is just down and sideways. Down and sideways. I don't see any trade whatsoever. Nor do I on the US dollar Mexican peso. There's no trade involved, right? This was a good trade we took this year. 22 and a quarter. Rolled that down, right? Where did I take profit? Down over here at 1990. What's going on now? I don't know. I'm just watching what's happening and we'll figure out what it means. Can we put any type of massive trend line over here like this? Do you see that? It's just interesting, and I don't know why it's happening. So I'm going to keep watching it until I understand it more. What else? US dollar pairs. US dollar's going sideways. That's not interesting right now, right? Let's check them out, though. Let's start with the DXY just to get that clarity. DXY is unchanged on the day, going sideways. Above this trend line, that might open up some activity for us, some clarity. Right now, we're just consolidating after a big move down, right? Is it going to be another leg down or up? We'll find out and we'll see. Right now, that means that probably all US dollar pairs are a little less attractive. Let's check out the Australian dollar, US dollar, right? That was a profit-taking day yesterday into the resistance, right? 40% of the trade, right? Do you keep the stop loss at break even? Or are you moving your stop loss now, leveling it up, staircasing it up, putting it over here below that last bit of local resistance, turn support, these last two lows, right? Seems like a good and safe place to do to lock in the rest of the trade. Where do you give it the room to keep the stop loss at break even over here? Right? Even if you get stop loss at break even, you already took 40% off your trade. Is the Australian dollar commodity currency over here going to be able to break out versus the dollar? And if it does, and if the dollar breaks down, and that's what we're looking at. So that's a choice that you have to make, and an important one. There's no right answer. There's no right answer. Let me take a sip of the blue bottle coffee this morning, by the way. Boomer. Dave, I follow the 8 biggest Bitcoin YouTube channels daily. Nobody has been more correct on how to invest in Bitcoin than Jordan. Thank you. It's all here on video. People were saying yesterday, because last week I put out a couple of videos like that Bitcoin masterfully lightly leveraged, showing some of what we've done over here across all the platforms, Twitter and YouTube. By the way, it's at JCL Capital on Twitter. There's a link below in the description. And I also love Twitter. I love how we interact there as a community as well. Also on Twitter, it's really wonderful. I would love to talk to those guys one day. We'll see. Eventually, they're going to be interested in what we have to say, and I would love for the opportunity, to be able to. I don't know them though. I just don't know them. I don't hang out in that Bitcoin world. I hang out in this CTM world of ours, and is where I do my thing. Yeah, and it's still early enough, by the way, Thomas. It's still early enough that people could, I could call up my family right now and tell my brothers, listen, you should buy Bitcoin right now. This is your last chance. I did it at 20,000. I was like, listen, I've been telling you and telling you and telling you. Right? Is this another $50,000? Is that another phone call opportunity? It could be. This is where it's going to begin. This is where we're going to start seeing the corporations piranha-like fighting over that Bitcoin, right? Where it's going to take us, where the speculation, and we will be in a bubble. When we start going vertical, right? Whether or not it's this fall or not, to September 21st. Let's find out. We're going to be going vertical, and Bitcoin is going to be in a massive bubble. It's not in a bubble right now. It's underpriced right now, right? Yeah, and I think the most important thing anyway, whether it's, we're just watching this consolidation taking place on Bitcoin, right? We know exactly that we need to break out to the upside to put a real leg up in, or we're going to break down over here, and then we'll watch what happens next. But Bitcoin looking very bullish this morning at $49,000, $50,000. What else? What else? Yeah, Thomas. This was announced a couple of months ago. 10% of his liquid net worth. It's still a lot of money. Ricardo's a billionaire, right? The third biggest billionaire here in Mexico. And look, you know, I've reached out to the Slims and you know tried to get them early on invested in that in the trade that matters. They don't understand it, you know, and they thought, oh, well, there's going to be something else that's better. What's the next Bitcoin, right? What's the next Bitcoin? Has Cardano learned a lot from Bitcoin and Ethereum, and therefore going to be better, right? It's all season. It's what happens. It's beautiful as long as you have that awareness of where to keep focused. So yeah, but last time he raised money, he bought very soon, and that's only 600 million. That's only 600 million. It's probably going to be oversubscribed. He'll probably raise more than the 600 million he did last time, right? And you know who else? Who else is going to be the next corporation to raise cheap debt to buy Bitcoin? How about that? How about that? That's interesting. Will that happen? Does it even need to happen? People have looked at just if the S&P 500 were to put, you know, take a 1% or 10% Bitcoin position, what that would mean for the price. We're just going to keep tracking it. We're just going to keep tracking it. See so Keith, I'm just going to build off of what you're saying though, by the way. So the thing about this is the shorter you go down the time frame, right? Whether you're on the 4 hour, even if you're on the 2 hour over here, right? It looks like you could see things a lot clearer. The greater your chances of getting whipped around and whipsawed around, and you're going to lose money doing that, right? Raising your time preference, the 8 hour, that's a pretty low time. That's a pretty low time frame, I think, for Bitcoin at this point, but it's a good one to watch it. It's a good one to watch it. Just be careful. You know, this is whether you're looking at the 2 hour right now, it's the same trend line over here, same trend line support in this channel. This was the same resistance. This was drawn in here. I don't even know when we drew it in, but price peaked into our resistance this morning. When I woke up, it already peaked into there, come off a little bit, right? You got to break above here for the next leg, or if you break down, it doesn't matter if you're tracking that on the 2 hour or the 8 hour or the 4 hour, right? Don't get caught up in those small price fluctuations. It could be really dangerous. So I've talked about in the 3 ways to trade Bitcoin during the bull market phase, one of the most important things, long session, hour and a half. Thanks for spending the time together, everyone. Thanks for spending the time together. That's right. It's a model until it breaks. And does it look like it's going to break here? Are we going to see hyper Bitcoinization here at this particular time? I don't think the central banks are going to lose control of the system yet. I don't think they're going to lose control of the system yet. You know, I think we have for sure this bull market. And if everyone here, anyone who's a regular listener who's invested the time, I'm sure they're as confident as myself that if for any reason things change and we do have a super cycle, that there's no question that I'm going to be aware of it as it's occurring before everyone else is really like, you know, really falling into that, and we're going to stay positioned accordingly. That's why we do what we do. That's why we do what we do. All right, everyone. I wish I could go out with music. I don't know what went on this morning with the system not being able to play the music. So I know you're not going to be able to hear it, but I'm still going to play it over here because I like to hear it as we go out. Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning, spending this time. I hope you could hear it ruffled. I hope you could hear the music ruffled, and I'll try to fix that if I'm able. So have a beautiful, beautiful day, everyone. Thank you for spending the time. Thank you, Heath. It means a lot to me. Really looking forward to some more of your sessions. I really am, and thanks for that. I appreciate that the most. Thank you. Vicar, we're gonna make tomorrow Taco Wednesday. We'll have Taco Tuesday on Wednesday. I have to get the system audio fixed. I don't even know if you can hear the music in the background right now. Jordan, and you, thank you, Jordan, for building everybody up. Thank you so much to all the moderators. Thank you so much for everything you do. You have really helped this whole community tremendously. Grateful for it. Grateful for you all, each and every one of you. Look forward to seeing you again in the morning. I'll talk to you soon.